The Hag of Beara, or Cailleach Bhéarra, is a mythical old woman that is popular in Irish literature and folklore and also present in Scottish tradition. In Ireland, she is associated in particular with the Beara Peninsula, which is located in the west of Cork. She probably is a relic of the Celtic pantheon and originally served as a divine figure in the form of a land goddess. The Hag of Beara is featured in a poem of the 9th century where she is depicted as an old woman that after a pleasurable life in youth is now taken the veil of a nun in her old age. She therefore can be seen as a symbol for the natural cycle of life through her elemental transience from an agile young woman into an elderly wise figure, the Cailleach. On the other hand, she appears as exceptionally persistent towards time or death in Irish oral tradition, where she is said to have passed into 7 periods of youth, marrying several men and bearing whole generations of children. In general, she is an exceptional female figure. A lot of stories in Irish tradition reflect her magical or supernatural powers. In one of them, she was able to walk across Loch Arrow and the waters at the deepest part just reached her armpit. In another, she is fighting wild animals and transforming them into natural features with the help of her wand. Long ago, there was a widow herding her cattle. She was looking out on the sea when suddenly she saw a wild bull coming out of it and approaching the land. He came through the rocks and was lowing fiercely. The widow was a magic woman, and she had her magic wand in her hand. The bull came into the field in which the widow was. He started to kill the cattle. She arose at once and got her horse and followed him. Then the bull started to go towards the sea, but she turned him with her magic wand. She followed him for about 4 miles, and on turning towards the sea again, she hit him with her wand and killed him. On doing this, she fell and left the track of her hand in the rock, and the wand fell out of her hand and is under the bull up to the present day. The horse left the track of his hoof in the rock and is also to be seen. Before the widow left, she changed the bull into a green rock. Then she returned into the lake. What is remarkable is her special connection to nature and the long-lasting effect she has on the landscape and on natural features. Old people tell stories of a fight between the Cailleach Bhéarra and one of the giants. He stood on the summit of the hill and fired stones down at her. She lifted stones and earth and fired them up at him. The stones that reached the top of the hill form a cairn, which is still to be seen. The place from which they were taken formed a small lake, which remains to the present day. In another tale, she planted her foot so firmly that her footprint was left on a rock in the middle of the river, where it can be seen this day when the water is low. On the Beara Peninsula, the hag is especially associated with a standing stone at the shore near the village of Iries. The rock is said to mirror her outward appearance, and legend has it that actually she herself turned into that stone. Often, she is not only connected to the natural, but also to the man-made environment. In these stories, she is described as a skilled and powerful builder and mower. A witch who is believed to have erected most of the round towers and castles in this country. 3 miles to the west of Simford, there is today to be seen an unfinished steeple, which is known locally as Cailleach Steeple. This steeple is believed to have been built by Cailleach Bhéarra. When she first thought of building this steeple, she was in Kilnochlin, in the parish of Cailleach, and she decided in her own mind that she would take 3 steps from Kilnochlin, and that where she would arrive with the 3rd step, she would build the steeple. Before starting her journey from Kilnochlin, she filled her 3 pockets with sufficient stones to build a steeple. Her first step brought her to Renbrack, Carlow, and her 2nd step brought her to the middle of the Moy. Her 3rd step took her to Cailleach, and here she commences to build. She had decided to build the steeple till it reached the sky provided she met with no interference from anybody. The figure of a divine female power affecting and shaping nature and landscape is a popular one in the Gaelic world of Ireland and Scotland. In many stories, the Cailleach Bhéarra acts as this autonomous woman that is in direct contact with nature, who is in fact the creator of parts of the environment that people can perceive around them. She serves as an explanatory device for natural features, but also gives importance and a certain magical, otherworldly value to them. The Hag of Beara depicts female creativity as the major source for the actual physical environment, and highlights the nurturing quality this female power can have, both on landscape and society. However, as an impersonation of the wilderness of nature, she features both its fertile and its destructive potential. The Cailleach Bhéarra started one day mowing with a score of men. The men led off and she took up the rear. After an hour's work, she caught up to the man who was last and mowed off his legs from above the ankles. She continued the work until she caught up to the man who was second last, and she caught off his legs also. This procedure continued until all the men but one had their legs cut off. At this stage, they went to their dinner. The only man who was alive went into his dinner in fear and trembling, being well aware of his coming fate. But before sitting down to his dinner, he made an excuse to leave the house. Immediately he got outside the door, he went to the hayfield, where he planted iron spikes in Cailleach Bhéarra's swath. After dinner, the mowing commenced, and it wasn't long until Cailleach Bhéarra hit one of the spikes with her scythe. This injured the blade, and she was delayed in her mowing because she had to wet her scythe. During this time, the man had gained considerably. She commenced mowing again, and again her scythe came into contact with a spike, and again she was delayed. The man a second time increased his gain. The work proceeded, and every time Cailleach Bhéarra hit a spike, the man increased his lead. Towards evening, he was on a second swath, rapidly catching up with her, and on reaching her, he cut off her legs. Here we are witnessing the more sinister and threatening side attributed to the Hag of Beara. She appears as sly and violent and plotting against men in some sort of competition. In another narrative, children are threatened with the punishing hag for their misbehavior. Some time ago, if children were bold, their mothers threatened to tell Cailleach Bhéarra, and immediately they got quiet. As we see, the figure of the Hag of Beara is also used for educational and moralizing purposes, but moreover, she depicts an exceptionally skilled and superior female figure that becomes a possible threat, in this case especially for men of whom she's literally cutting something off. Ultimately, the Hag of Beara can be seen as a powerful female agency which is acting and creating independently from any male companion and apart from the patriarchal society. She is one of several female personae, popular in Irish tradition, that contribute greatly to the community. The figure of the Cailleach Bhéarra underlines some functions and activities real women fulfill in real life, and therefore can be seen as an example for autonomous womanhood.